talking about Rockall, the fisherman of Ireland and Scotland. But Anthony Cunningham has been the fisherman of the year. The catch of the year has been Conor Cox. Roscommon give the ball away. 30 seconds of normal time to play. Roscommon lead by 3 points.
The crowd is on the sideline.
But it's not over yet. One last throw of the dice. Galway have to get a goal. Galway need a goal. They've got to go for it. Roscommon lead by 3 points. Galway along the in-line. In it comes, round the house. The shot comes in for Galway. When they get the chance, the block inside. Roscommon have everybody back. Here comes the shot. It's wide. That could be the moment.
Crowd have to go out in the field, Willie.
It's all over. Roscommon are the Connacht champions. Roscommon have done it in 2019.
Willie Hegarty on Shannon's side with, I think, Nigel Dineen egging him on in the background. We have Mike Quirke with us and Billy Joe Padden. I think they enjoyed that, Billy Joe.
I think they did, yeah. No doubt about that. Fair play to Roscommon. They always seem to enjoy their victories, and they deserve this one, that's for sure. 113
to 12 points. This was one of the more predicted. See, it's not even a shock. Like, I mean, they beat Mayo. They're a Division 1 team. It's their second and third years. Upset, maybe, I suppose, I guess, in the context of Galway having All-Ireland ambitions. But it was widely predicted, I thought, beforehand.
I think so. I think the reaction of the supporters makes you think that it was an unrealistic outcome. But I always gave them a really good chance. They have good history against Galway. You know, the Mayo game was maybe more of a surprise in that they had such a poor record in Castlebar. But if you're going to win a Connacht title from the position that they were in, having to go away to Castlebar, had to go away to Galway, and they were able to win it and win it comfortably and be the better team on both occasions, and that was hugely impressive. And I think that it should not surprise Roscommon supporters any longer, because they have a very good football team. We've always said they've had good young forwards and the ability to play, but I think you've seen something maybe a little different in them this year that you see in teams as they mature. There's a bit more steel in them, a bit more aggression, and as they're physically developing, they're going to be a much tougher task for any team that they're going to face later on in the championship.
I suppose, Mike Quirke, if there was an element of surprise, certainly double scores down at half time would have led many of them to consign themselves and kind of digest defeat around that half-time break. So to come back from double scores down maybe is the element of euphoria at the end. The really disappointing thing from a Galway point of view is, like, we talk about Galway and their style of play, and they're described as overly defensive, and that, you know, they're kind of the big quibbles. But if that is the case, then getting to double scores means they should see that lead home. Like, this is a complete systems failure.
Yeah, but I just lost on Galway. I'm not sure if Galway know what Galway are doing anymore, and systems. I was at a coaching thing a long time ago where this guy giving the talk was talking about coaches saying you got to start with the end in mind and know where you're trying to get to, and then you devise everything around your training sessions to try and get to that point. So if you want to be a defensive team, everything you're doing is geared towards being a really good defensive team. I don't think they are a very good defensive team. Like, the goal they conceded was really just innocent defending, nothing complicated to it, and that was a game changer. That stole the momentum for Roscommon and gave them all the kind of, you know, that push for the last 15-20 minutes. Like, they're not a very defensive team. They're not an attacking team. I'm not sure what they're trying to do, and if they have real clarity about how they're trying to play, and I think their identity is just after getting kind of really, really muddled up, and they're not sure exactly what they're trying to do.
On that defensive point, there was definitely a score, it escapes me now who kicked it, but Galway had men back and it was congested around the middle. It was around the kind of semicircle on the edge of the 21, and Roscommon were passing the ball back and forwards, and then one of the players just barged through 2 or 3 Galway players on the edge of the 21 and then had time to steady himself and pop it over the bar off his left foot. And it was like, well, you don't want to go over the top here, but like, it was pretty dreadful, you know. Like, Galway were set, they had men between man and goal, and he just kind of decided at one point when they had run out of options, well, I'll just run through 2 or 3, and they almost let him, Mike.
Yeah, that was the midfielder score, wasn't it? That was he got it late in the second half where he turned around and hooked it with his left leg.
Yeah,
like even Conor Cox's score late on, it was still a one-on-one chance against the midfielder. I'm not sure it was a Tom Flynn or whoever it was at that stage. He had a one-on-one and went 5 people and kicked it over the bar. You know, the goal was similar. Like, this is my point to them. I'm just, like, they hit 2 scores. Like, that second half went on for 43 or 44 minutes. and they had 2 scores in 44 minutes of football. Like, and that's not to say that you don't have talent and you don't have guys that are capable attackers. And they're probably, you know what, the whole thing about Quirke, I think, being in their county is probably not doing Kevin Welch or Galway football, you know, any help in this regard, because you see the type of football that they can produce when they're playing against Crokes and other teams in the club championship. But I know it's a different level completely, but like that's what we associate kind of traditionally with Galway. And when we talk about traditional Galway, that's the kind of football that we talk about. Yeah. And you've got guys like, you know, Shane Welch and Ian Burke and Michael Daly, who are like as a team, obviously, but they're the kind of that spearhead of it, are only contributing 2 scores in 44 minutes of football, and yet, to your point, you're not doing a very good job defensively, and you allow Roscommon to reel in a 5-point margin at half time and to go and win by 4 points. That's a 9-point swing in the second half. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and I'm just not sure that they just seem a little bit lost at the moment, you know.
Billy Joe, do you share that sense that Mike has, that Galway aren't too sure what kind of team they're trying to be at the moment?
I think so. I also think that what has happened to them if you take the game against Monaghan last year in the Super 8s in Galway as well, where they really capitulated in the second half also, I think there's a trend there. I think that some of the players do not want to play that the way they're being asked to play in that ultra defensive style. I think they want to express themselves more. I think they want to play more football. And I think what you saw in the second half yesterday was a bunch of players that just lost belief in what they were trying to do. And as spectators watching it, it was difficult for us to ascertain what they were trying to do at times, because they didn't, as you pointed out, they didn't defend well enough. And if you're defending deep, you have to counter-attack with some method, and they showed none of that. And really had no impetus to get on the ball in that last 20 minutes when Roscommon had pegged them back and try and, you know, play even a bit with the elements. They had a slight breeze at their back. They could have tried to put pressure on Roscommon, where Roscommon are weak on their own kick out, but they just didn't even get enough possession to get down the field. And it just looked like a total, really an insipid performance from them. And I think it'll be very difficult for them to come back from that, unless Kevin Walsh goes into the dressing room and says, we're going to try and do something different, and it kind of re-energizes these footballers that Mike rightly points out, because they have lots of talented forwards. And the problem I have with them is that they just do not put the ball in Burke or Walsh's hands often enough. Yeah. And that really cost them in the second half.
Walsh is sensitive to this criticism, obviously, and he was asked after the game if one of the reasons they didn't score in the second half was due to the number of bodies behind the ball. And his response was, did you think so? And then he went on to say, I don't think that was one of the reasons, because there's a lot of guff out there about that. Suggesting he doesn't think they are overly defensive, or that they do have too many behind the ball.
Well, it's fine to get men behind the ball if you're willing to be proactive at some stage in the game. But Galway have built this team basically on an ability to beat Mayo. And they've shown that they can do that. And playing Mayo is nearly different to playing a lot of other counties, because Mayo will constantly come trying to knock on your door. You know, they're kind of blunt in their attack, and they'll create those counter-attacking opportunities for you. And Galway have shown that they can take the ball off Mayo and counter-attack into those spaces. But Roscommon were much more clever in the way they used the ball in the second half. They didn't really look to turn it over. They moved it from side to side, used the full width of the field. And the thing that disappointed me about Galway was they showed no desire to get out to that 65-yard line and try and dispossess the Roscommon ball carriers and create something down the far end. And I think that Kevin Walsh did also mention that what a big problem they had in the second half was possession. Yeah. And that's the big problem for me. They just didn't get their hands on the ball. And I think that is down to the fact that they just weren't brave enough to step out of that defensive shell, put pressure on, and try and pin Roscommon into their own half. And it seems totally crazy, because when you consider it, what Galway did in the first half was nearly surprising, because they did try and pressurise the Roscommon kick out in the first half and just failed to do it at any stage in the second.
Galway played Kerry in Croke Park a couple of years ago, Mike, and Kerry waltzed through at times. There was oceans of space in the Galway defence, and you felt like that left a mark, and like Galway went away and said to themselves, if we're going to progress in Croke Park, we need to tighten up. So, you know, that was almost the trigger for this. Have they ever had the balance right, do you feel, in the intervening years and months?
No, and I think that was obviously a watershed moment for him, and that was something that was a turning point, and he turned to, you know, maybe Paddy Tally and stuff, and said we need to solidify ourselves defensively, and like Roscommon did the same thing. I mean, Roscommon had plenty of bodies behind the ball, and you know, there was loads of times when they had 12 and 13 men behind the ball, and they're as defensive as Galway, but the difference for me is it's not. I don't have the issue with getting bodies back. The issue for me is during that entire second half when I'm looking at those Galway guys. A lot of the time, if you're in possession around the middle of the field, they weren't even looking inside at their forwards. Their first instinct is to make a hand pass across the field or to kick it backwards. Or like there was so many guys outside of Shane Welch when he was on the ball that were not even. They didn't even want to look to see if Ian Burke was standing on his own at the edge of the square with no one with him. They never even looked in. So it's obviously it's something that's it's a mindset thing. It's something that they have in their head that, our job when we have the ball is to keep it and be patient. But like when Roscommon have the ball, despite having numbers, their intent when they're in the middle of the field is we're getting this ball as quickly as we can inside here to Cox or to Dermot Murta or to, Craig or whoever. We want to get the ball forward as quickly as we can. And that was the big difference in the teams. Both of them were probably as defensive as each other, even though, Roscommon had more physicality and I thought they hit harder and they just, with the dailies around the place, lamping people, they were just that, they had that edge about them that Galway certainly were lacking. But the big difference was when they had the ball, they were looking to get it forward as quickly as they can. And that's where Galway have fallen in between two stools, I think.
Yeah, so when you talk about that ponderous Galway play, Mike, you are of the opinion that the players had the skill set and the vision to pick out passes and be more direct if the mindset was right. This isn't a skill deficit issue for Galway.
I don't think so. I mean, like, Ian Burke was an all-star. Shane Welch is not like they've got plenty of guys like that are of that ilk where they can still cause an awful lot of trouble for people. Michael Daly's a really good footballer. O'Lee kicked a great score. Like obviously Damien Comer is without doubt a massive loss to them, and he provides so much leadership and physicality and direction when he's there. But at the same time, like you can't be overly reliant on one guy to carry the whole ship offensively. There has to be like the point I was making, you start with the end in mind. So, like, if it's a case of, lads, we got to be more solid defensively, well, when we get the ball forward, lads, here is what we're trying to do. We want to get the ball into our playmakers' hands as often as we can.
Yeah.
Like, how many touches did Ian Burke have yesterday? Like, Ian Burke I know he's small, he's not a big guy, and it was wet and it was a greasy pitch, but Ian Burke is one of their best decision makers. Anytime you see him on the ball playing with Quirke, the guy makes things happen. Like I didn't count 5 possessions for him in the second half yesterday. I'd say he scarcely had 10 during the course of the game.
Yeah.
And like these are things that you would imagine that we can defend, but we got to get the ball in these guys' hands as quickly as we possibly can when they're attacking, and they're not doing that.
Yeah, I'm kind of talking here as if good defending and good attacking are mutually exclusive. Like it's very possible to do both really well. There's a text in, Billy Joe, saying Roscommon beat Mayo and Galway in tight games in terrible non-summer weather conditions. If Mayo and Galway get them on a dry day in Croker, do you think that makes a big difference?
I think it makes a difference to Mayo because, against popular opinion, I think the Mayo team is suited to playing in Croke Park. I think they've shown that over a number of years that they have the athleticism for that big wide open pitch. I think that'll be the test of Roscommon's development. Can they go and beat one of these teams again in a big open pitch? But they have the forwards to create difficulties for any of those two teams, and you would wonder about Galway's frame of mind after that defeat. And Mayo have to go through the qualifiers, so there's no doubt that Roscommon are in a better position than the other two counties, and it'll come down if any of the other teams can make it to the Super 8s and challenge them. The one thing I'll say about Roscommon, I think they've managed it very, very well, is that they have a significant weakness on their own kick-out in the middle of the field, and they had difficulties against Mayo. They had severe difficulties for the last 15 minutes of the first half of getting the ball out. And I think that teams that are more concentrated on that weakness will focus in on it and have success later on. So it's something that they have to address as the season goes on. I thought they handled it very well in the second half against Galway yesterday because they didn't turn over the ball. Galway didn't have that many kickouts. When Roscommon got chances, even into that slight breeze, they waited till the shooting opportunity was there. They didn't kick many wide, so there wasn't that many restarts or kickouts, if you want to call them that. So there wasn't that many opportunities for them to be dominated physically in that area. And I think that that's some area that they're still weak on and that they'll have to develop. But those two players they have there in Cloran and O'Rourke are young. They're going to get bigger and stronger. And to be honest, as the game went on yesterday, they got stronger, whereas their Galway counterparts got weaker.
It was hard not to be pleased for Anthony Cunningham as well while we're talking about Roscommon. A Leinster Hurling Championship, a Connacht Football Championship, All-Ireland Under-21 Hurling Championship, a Leinster Club Football Championship and a Connacht Club Football Championship is pretty impressive. Here were his thoughts afterwards.
I hadn't really thought about that, to be honest. For me, I just love being involved in the game, be it football or hurling, and it's just a privilege to be involved. I'm not getting any younger, so when a job comes up and you think you can add something, but I'd have to commend my backroom team. Mark Dowd and Ian Daly are two tremendous coaches. A great S&C coach that's based in Dublin with Noel Flynn, and we improved that aspect of it for sure. And look at, it's the players. It's all about the players. They really worked hard. When I say worked hard, 36 players there, they never flinched since last November.
Looking at the way the game went, Galway finished the first half in blistering fashion. Did half-time come at a good time for you?
It did, because it was a level game with 10 minutes to go in the first half. But the last 10 minutes of the first half, we dropped our tackle rate, we dropped our composure, and it was looking that bit tough. And it was a tough place at half time, because it's Galway and they're a tremendous team. But for us, we just got back to being a bit more composed in the second half.
Yeah, was that the message? Just do what we do well?
Yeah, absolutely. Get our tackle rate up, be a bit more intelligent on the ball, as we showed for the first 20 minutes. And look at Connacht finals conditions were very slippy and very wet, so you do have to adapt and know what's in front of you. And I think that the guys, they proved their football pedigree there in the second half.
You're not done yet. Super 8s now. These players, I imagine, will feel they have a point to prove in the Super 8s.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll be disappointed with Dublin in the last couple of years of the Super 8s, and I think there's a different stamp on these guys, but they've got to back it up. That's what we've said since the Mayo match, back it up, and that's what they did.
I think a lot of people have taken this team to their hearts and hope they do back it up. And for Cunningham, he's part of that, Billy Joe, because I know he was in with Pat Gilroy last year in Dublin, but he would have left the inter-county scene as the main man, as the manager, with it probably, I don't want to say bitter, but not a great taste in the mouth, the way things ended in Galway. And then, you're only human as you watch that team go on and win in All-Ireland, and how people perceive that and how they perceive it reflects on you. So for him to come back in what is a different sport, I know we talk about these two sports as if they're somehow comparable when really they're not, and to lead Roscommon to a provincial title, that's really impressive, and good on him.
Yeah, I'm delighted for him. I think it would be easy for us to say that he's just a motivator and that's how he can transfer from one sport to the other. But that's been totally unfair to him. I think that what he has shown this year with Roscommon, and that's the real where it's been obvious to me in terms of what he's done. Like, you could see from the very first day in the league, the Roscommon were going to have a more physical edge, and that kind of ties in with the way Roscommon have played football all over the years. They need that. And I think the other thing that he's added to it is that, and it was really evident in the second half, and he mentioned it there in the interview, was how patient, how intelligent Roscommon were on the ball. And I think you see that in both games so far in this championship, because when the kick pass ahead was on, they kicked it in, got good ball into their forwards. I think the first 20 minutes against Galway was a good example of that. Second half, different conditions, playing into a really congested defence. As I said earlier, they really impressed me with the way they retained possession, moved it from side to side, weren't afraid to go backwards if there was no path ahead. And it really frustrated Galway. And I think that's down to his coaching and his instruction. And so we've got to give him credit for the tactical side of it as much for motivation.
Mike, might finish with you and get your thoughts on what the season holds for both of these sides going forward. You might start with Galway, because Tommy F has texted in and almost asked, is he missing something here? Why is so much expected from Galway? Why are we talking about this as if like this great team have fallen?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think they've kind of flattered to deceive over the last couple of years. We've expected more than we've seen, and I think really whatever their progress is going to hinge a lot on Damien Comer and how fit he can come back into the mix. But to me, I wouldn't be overly excited about the prospects of Galway footballers. I just for the footballers that they have, which I think are better than they're producing, or that they're actually the way they're playing right now. I just don't see that they have a clear idea of how they want to play, and like the lack of energy and the lack of effort in some regards, which is a serious indictment. I didn't feel that they were really they were up for that fight in the second half, and I didn't think they had the punching power to take on Roscommon when they really went at them. And Roscommon, by the same token, I'm really high on Roscommon at the moment, and the same with Anthony Cunningham. I think the fact that his return to management has coincided with Conor Cox getting up there and the football that he's playing. I think that's after giving, Roscommon a huge boost as well, obviously. But like Cunningham is an absolute phenomenon what he's after doing. And now, if I was a proper professional, I would have done some research and found out if other people have managed and had success in hurling and football. But he said in his piece after there, Joe, like, I just like being involved in the game. Like, that's one of the most humble remarks you can ever make. Like, it's not the same game as the point you made. Like, it's like Jim McGuinness going to soccer and going to Gaelic football. They're completely, opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of the way the games are played now. And to be a success and to do what he's done in hurling and now come over to a team like Roscommon, who weren't exactly flying after the humiliation they got in the Super 8, and the way he's turned them around and give them a spine and give them a way to play. I think they're going to be a right threat in the Super 8s with the confidence that they have. And right after the game yesterday, they were celebrating, obviously, but any bit of interview you heard or read today, every one of them is talking about the Super 8s and how they want to maybe do themselves more justice than they did the previous year. So I think they've always said on a couple of more wins, and good luck to them, because they deserve it for the work they're after putting in.
Yeah, well put. Mike Quirke, Billy Joe Padden, thanks fellas.
No problem.